Today we're back reading some more Malicious Compliance and it's going to be so fun. We've made a lot of episodes on this subreddit recently and I couldn't be happier. These stories are so addictive and I've got a whole bunch more today. So yeah guys, thank you for joining me once again and I hope you have a wonderful time. Calling me on a day off, cha-ching. This happened well over a year ago, but as a unionized employee, I get every third Friday off. On my day off, I'm playing some video games and I get a text from the boss. I know it's your day off, but whatever, that's easy to ignore. But then I get a second text, and after I ignore that, I get a call. My boss, I know it's your day off, but our phones are down. Me, no worries, I'll handle it. We hang up and I call our phone provider. I'm the IT and the contact there, and this isn't my first call ever to them, so I literally have their service department saved in my phone. I call, I register the problem, and they say they'll look into it. I provide them my boss's name and extension and to call him when it's fixed. I then call my boss back and I let him know that they'll call him ASAP. But now for the malicious compliance bid. Our contract stipulates a minimum call-in of 4 hours, meaning that you can't pay me less than 4 hours a day, unless it's by my own choosing. If you call me for an hour and you send me home, I get 4 hours of pay. But wait, there's more. We also have an overtime clause that pays overtime at 150%. And lastly, we have a clause that says that overtime must be approved by the boss, or else it's 1-to-1 toil, time off in lieu, which you can take at a 1-to-1 ratio. Oh yeah, if I decide that the weekend is a good time for server updates, I don't need to ask for approval, but my 2 hours of work only translate to 2 hours of paid time off elsewhere. Combine all this in one delightful batch and you get a 10-minute call that results in 6 hours of bank time off. I went right back to my video games, filled out my timesheet the week after and said, I know it's your day off, but is implied consent for overtime. Minimum call out of 4 hours at 150% is 6 hours, almost an entire day off with pay in exchange for a 10-minute call. Thank you very much. Bonus, guess who has 2 thumbs and has since never been called back on his day off? This unionized guy. Hint, get unionized and fight back. Wait a second though, but is this malicious? I suppose so. I mean, like, yeah, it turned out awesome for you, but I feel like the boss also probably wouldn't have cared too much. Like, surely them calling you on your day off, like they know what they're getting into. But also, you said they never called you on a day off ever again, so they probably weren't too happy about this. The next one is called Change the Salary System After Start Date. More than happy to comply. Here's a little story about a summer job I did a while ago that y'all might enjoy. This happened a few years back. It was during summer break and I was back home from university, looking for something to do to keep me busy and earn some cash. I stumbled upon an ad for a local music festival needing help managing their concerts, mostly checking in visitors and also working as a driver. I reached out, said that I'd be interested and tell them my hourly fee, which I earned from my last job. They answered back rather fast and told me to start ASAP. Since they didn't argue with me about my proposed hourly rate, I gathered they've accepted it. Well, a few days after I started working for them, one of the bosses approached me and said they don't exactly do the hourly rate, but rather pay a fixed price for a day that you work for them. No way, they can't tell you that after. At first I was annoyed since it would have been so much less than I initially thought, but then I realized I can just use their own system against them. Want me to go around and hand out flyers to people for 30 minutes? Yeah, this will be noted as a whole day. Want me to go collect additional chairs and bring them to the venue for 20 minutes? Yep, another day added. You get my system. Ah, that sweet moment when after the whole gig I handed my registered days calculation to the boss. She looked at it, her eyes turned wide and you could see that her thought process on her face was calculating. I simply grinned while she realized that her system absolutely backfired with me. I ended up earning more than they would have paid me with the hourly system that I proposed. 1 week later I had the money in my bank account. Weirdly enough, I never heard back. I would have loved to work with them again. OP left some comments here. I suggested that I note down every single hour worked and they pay me for those hours that I worked, so that compensation would be more fair to both parties, since they would only pay a little amount when it's only a few hours a day, and obviously a bigger amount when it's more hours. They said that they don't pay by the hour, but rather by the days that you did work for them. There were days where I lost out on their system big time because there was a lot to do, and I worked much more for their set daily amount. So to equal it out, I calculated days where I only did minimal work as full days too. And then this comment, but how else could you have calculated it under their system? It seems like counting it as a full day was your only option. I couldn't. That's why I initially proposed the hourly rate system. I'm pretty certain they gambled on the fact that the workers, like me, only did very intense days and long hours, and then they would have gotten the most workforce out of it for a very little pay. Plus, they most certainly hoped that I wouldn't count in days I only did little work, out of courtesy. Screw that. Yeah, right, I was so confused about that. So you're pretty much doing what they said, but yeah, that's their mistake. Because yeah, that implies that if they ask you to come in and do something that doesn't take very long, that you're not going to get paid for that because it wasn't a full day. The next one is called, he wanted me to clean up all the weights myself, so I did. Lifting at the gym, and my powerlifting ass has a ton of plates set up on the leg press. I get done and another guy comes up to me. Hey, how many sets you got left? Actually, I just finished. Alright, cool, thanks. I start taking down the weights, 10 plates on each side. Hey, mind helping me take down the weights? If we both do so, it'll be cleaned up quicker and you won't have to wait so long to get started. Nah, I'm good waiting. You put so many plates on, you should probably take them all off. Wait, so let me get this straight. You want me to take all the plates off on my own? Yeah, your mess, you pick it up. Fine then. I get down to about 3 plates aside when he's scrolling on his phone and continue to take the plates down. Oh wait, I need 3 aside. You can stop now. Oh no, you told me you wanted me to take all the weights down myself. So that's what I'm gonna do. No, seriously, it's fine. You can stop. It's all good. No, if I have to personally take off all of my weights, then you have to personally load on all of yours. He had to take a moment to collect himself and remain calm. I assume because he realized he didn't want to try to fight a guy that just repped triple the weight that he was gonna do. So he shut up and I emptied the entire leg press. I got my stuff and I walked away. Peeking over my shoulder, I saw him start to put the plates back on the machine. Holy cannoli, some of you thought this was am I the a-hole? First off, where I live, 99.9% of people help each other by default, partially out of common courtesy, but also because it saves time. I asked his help because I would have felt awkward with him just standing there waiting on me to put 14 plus plates away myself. Do I clean up my own weights? Hell yeah, I do. Been lifting heavy for 4 years. If I didn't, I would have been kicked out of every gym in town. Do I help others clean up when I'm taking over? Yeah, like I said, it saves both of us time, and I don't have time to wait on other people to single-handedly clean up stuff. Is he obligated to help me clean up? No. If he had simply said no, I would have just done it and left the weights he wanted. He triggered my malicious compliance when he condescended me about how cleaning up was my responsibility. I'm not some high schooler that never learned to clean up after himself. I know it's my responsibility. Edit number 2. Okay, the number of plates and the intimidated by me lifting triple thing does sound like a humble brag. My bad. But I noted the number of plates to illustrate how 2 people taking down 14 plates would be a lot quicker than 1 person taking down 14. And I mentioned the intimidation thing because he was fuming so hard that for a moment I thought he actually might start an altercation. Edit 3. I'm turning off notifications. Apparently way too many keyboard warriors who lifted every man for themselves gyms and have decided common courtesy and community are for the weak, and I can't control myself responding. This is such a beautiful subreddit. But yeah, that is annoying. They should have just helped you instead of getting all upset about it. The next one is called You Want to Enforce a Non-Existent Dress Code? Game on. Years ago, I was working in a development lab for a large tech company. It was pretty casual and there was no dress code until an old school manager took exception to a couple of us showing up in tie-dye. A co-worker was sent home to change clothes and I got lectured about professionalism and appearance, and it would be nice to see you show up in a real shirt sometimes, you know, with buttons and a collar. So I bought several of the ugliest, loudest, brightest tropical print shirts I could find. Yes, with buttons and collars, and those became my standard work attire forever after. Grumpy manager actually said, okay, I give up. Yeah, like this comment says, the grumpier the person, the more satisfying it is when they finally admit defeat. Hopefully he appreciated your dedication to this cause. Yeah, I can't tell if they found it super funny or if they were super upset. That's so funny. The next one is called Written Up for Being Chronically Late. But wait, this happened back in the 1980s before, you know, computers on every desk. My employer was a small company, only 10 or so employees. I was totally committed to the job and I gave it my all, not leaving until all the day's work was done, sometimes staying after work to do so. I'd been there for more than 5 years at the time and was a key employee by then. I was the one that people went to for help with complicated stuff. I did a prodigious amount of work and I always had stellar performance reviews. Occasionally traffic or whatever would make me a few minutes late for work. I didn't worry about it. We didn't use timesheets or a time clock and everyone was salaried. Erroneously, but that's a different story. Then one of the owner's favorites was promoted to VP and put in charge of HR. Before this, we were equals in the company. One of the first things she did was give me a written reprimand for insubordination, for being late one too many times. Eyes wide open now, I took the hit and began my campaign of malicious compliance. From that date forward, I entered the office 1 minute early, got to my desk and was seen to be busy, waited for 30 minutes to go and pour myself some coffee. I stopped my work. I left the building every day at exactly the end of business hours, leaving unfinished work on my desk. I received a joyous commendation for the VP VP for correcting my attitude. I left there within a few weeks and they had to hire 3 people to do my job. Editor ad. The only way to get raises in that industry was to change jobs periodically. I proceeded to job hop every 2 years after that, and I upped my income by over 500% by leveraging my successes in each job and my varied experience. It was all worth it and then some. Oh my god, how annoying! Like, yeah, you were working so hard and you were contributing so much to this place, and yeah, it took 3 different people to replace you, and you get somebody like this who's gonna write you up if you're a tiny bit late. Oh, that's so awful. Awful for the company too. Like, what are they even doing? Yeah, that's so ridiculous. The next one is called I'm Just a Bartender and You Know Everything. Okay, have a nice shower. Happened about 10 years ago now. I'd been working in catering and hospitality, managing pubs, for about 10 years at that stage. The catering company I'd worked for had come up short staffed for a smallish function that they were putting on. Probably max 200 people at a venue that they controlled. I was in a different division but was asked to help out on the bar and the bump in and out. Easy enough, and the music was looking pretty good, so I agreed. It was in the middle of spring. The weather had not yet been really warm, so we were expecting decent numbers, but nothing special. Bringing in the bar was easy enough. The venue was massive and easily able to accommodate the truck, etc. Having a single mobile bar with just one tap tree was probably on the light side, but I figured that the venue manager knew what she was doing. So I introduced myself to him and I got to work. I unloaded and brought all the gear and beverage in, and made a couple of attempts to discuss how we'd set up the service area. Each time was shut down with progressively more aggressive language until he finally told me, I've run dozens of functions in this venue. I think I know how to set it up. We really only asked for a bartender. Okay, no problem, I thought. I didn't mention it to him that it had been me that had picked up the truck from the warehouse, collected the bar and the 10 kegs from our supplier, as well as the other beverage package, and delivered it to him, or that I was the only one able to bump it all out at the end of the evening. So I just agreed with whatever he said and set it up as he wanted. So the weather ended up being a beautiful day, about 27 degrees, 80 Fahrenheit, with a light breeze, and the turnout was more like 400. Much better than expected. Pretty quickly it turned out that we were struggling to keep up with bar service, so I suggested that rather than a traditional service we should have one person on the till, one person constantly pouring beers, i.e. never shut off the tap, and one person filling other drinks like wine and soft drinks, etc. Again, I was snapped at by the now clearly stressed venue supervisor. You just keep serving and let me do the thinking. Okay, so now I'd had enough. Customers were getting frustrated at the slow service, and this peanut was too proud to accept advice from someone far more experienced. And then the keg blew. I was about to change it when the peanut stepped in and said that he'd take care of it. I checked that he knew what he was doing and was assured that he'd done it 100 times and to back off and leave him to it. So I did. I watched him not uncouple the gas line and go straight for the beer lock. Happily, he had his face right in the spot, so as soon as he cracked the lock, he copped a huge spray in the face of nice warm beer foam, all through his hair and all over his glasses, wet all down the front of his shirt as well. It was glorious, and the first 30 people in line thought so as well, because they'd also witnessed some of his antics. I didn't hear much of him for the rest of the day. He asked me to change the kegs when needed and pretty much stayed away from the service area. We streamlined things as well, and although it didn't end up a success as far as customer satisfaction, it was not the disaster that was brewing. Well, so they ended up asking you for help with the kegs after telling you to back off when you did offer to help. Why are people like this? Let people help and stop acting like you know everything. So bloody frustrating. Buddy, it's okay to get help from people. This person's just sitting there like, oh my god, what's about to happen? It would have been so entertaining, but also awful. The next one is called Just Book a Car Route. Great idea. I work in a large organization within a team that's on the road and is on the move almost full time. Naturally, we have a car assigned to our team. That was until a new fleet manager started and decided that we should instead be utilizing the car booking system, and sold our car. The car booking system is basically this: if you have to take home a vehicle as part of your package, you must have it on the car booking system so that anyone who may need a vehicle to run an errand can book a car and take it. Guess who has a take-home vehicle? The fleet manager. So we started booking it out full time, and when he needs to run an errand, he has to book someone else's car. He officially hates us and definitely knows that we're being malicious, but he can't really do anything about it. And like the top comment says, the price the fleet manager must pay for trying to get a raise from screwing over those needing a company car. Good on you and your team, following the rules. Bravo. Yeah, 100%. Like, we're not doing anything wrong. We're working completely within the rules. The stupid rules. The next one is called Sure, Give Me the Traffic Violation Ticket. Long time lurker, first time poster. This happened in the Philippines. 3 years ago, I was driving to get some lunch for me and my co-workers. I stopped at an intersection with a traffic light. I was turning left and made sure to stop before the yellow intersection box. There were no painted markings on the road apart apart from the intersection box. While waiting for the light to turn green, a traffic enforcer suddenly knocked on my window and told me that I've stopped my car beyond the white stop line for cars. Basically, the enforcer said that I was impeding the pedestrian crosswalk. My co-worker seated in the passenger seat and I checked through the car window and we can't see any printed lines on the road apart from the intersection box. The enforcer guided me to turn left and maybe stop at the side of the road. It was lunchtime and it was common for some traffic enforcers here to ask for bribes for people to get out of violations. The following conversation went like this. Enforcer, you know why I stopped you? OP, no, please enlighten me. Enforcer, you stopped within the pedestrian lane. OP, even though there are no clear markings on the road. Enforcer, they're there, clear as day, but very faded, but still there. OP, getting the hint that the enforcer is asking for bribes. Okay. Enforcer, do you want me to give you a ticket? OP, yes, please, you're an enforcer of the law. If you tell me that I made a violation, then I completely trust your authority. I apologize for the driving error I made, so please write your ticket and give it to me, and then I'll immediately settle my fines. Thank you also for letting me know that I committed a mistake, and I'll make sure to not do it again. The enforcer suddenly had a Pikachu face, realizing that he won't get a bribe from me. After 10 seconds of stunned silence, he just said, get the hell out of here. I drove off with my lunch intact, my money intact, and 2 bouts of howling laughter, courtesy of myself and my co-worker. Wow, that's really bad. It reminds me of that Simpsons episode where Homer doesn't realize that Chief Wiggum is trying to bribe him. That's a beautiful episode.
Hey, Dad, I think he wants...
Not right now, son. Daddy's talking to a policeman.
The next one is called Unnecessary Meetings. Here's your expensive bill. My company works with a customer that has a factory 2.5 hours away from us. We've been working with them for years now, and we've been to the factory a couple of times at the start of the project. Everyone at the customer works at that factory. We're in charge of migrating paper trail to digital documents. For a company that has like 4 warehouses full of paper trail documents, the solution has been working for some time. Last week they asked us for a meeting. My boss said, okay, online whenever you want. They said they wanted an in-person one, that we should go to the factory. My boss didn't want to, so we said, if we go, I'll have to bill you for the time. They said yes. So Monday morning, my boss and the tech in charge of the process head down there. The meeting lasts exactly 15 minutes. It could have been solved in exactly 2 paragraphs in one email. Since they're there, the tech asked the client to show them the paper trail warehouses and a tour of the factory. They happily comply. Overall, the meeting that could have been 15 minutes or 2 emails lasted 5 hours of travel plus 3 hours of touring there, plus the food. Guess who's getting billed 16 hours of work and the food for a 15-minute meeting? Surely the company was only trying to spend money or something. Like they had a budget or whatever and they were trying to spend it. Yeah, like this comment says, it sounds like someone has excess budget that needs to burn off. Yeah, and the funny thing is, stuff like this would happen all the time. Yeah, it's hard to say because on one hand it's like, okay, it's an unnecessary meeting, so we're going to charge you this expensive bill, and assuming that they're not happy about this. But also on the other hand, they might have been completely fine with it. The next one says, my boss loves to call me at 6:15 a.m. to ask me if I'd like to fill the shifts of the people who just called in sick. It's an everyday thing. I was bored and frustrated, so I decided to volunteer at 3:30 a.m. to call this same manager to ask if they needed extra help. He got super pissed and tried to write me up for it. I showed the GM the timestamps of the calls I had received. I don't get calls anymore. Oh, that's so funny. Like, hey, it's 3:30 in the morning and I know you're probably going to call me at 6:15, so I need to double check. Do you need me today? That's hilarious and a beautiful place to leave today's episode. Let's read something wholesome. My wife convinced me to stop in at the Humane Society just to see what the adoption process was like. Long story short, we ended up leaving with these two. Meet Tucker and Mike. Oh, Tucker and Mike. Oh, they're so beautiful. Oh my god. That's such a good ending. Like, hey, turns out the adoption process is actually pretty easy, as you can see by my new beautiful kitty cats. FaceTiming the water so it doesn't boil over while I'm watching TV in the other room. Wow, that's actually smart. If you can get up fast enough once it does start to boil over. That's genius. Hey, why do you have this other phone? Oh, don't worry, that's my FaceTiming my pasta water phone. Look to the eyes, look to the teeth, look to the hand. Have a great weekend. Aw, you too. And everybody at home, I hope you do too. Or I hope you did. What's the day today? Saturday is when I'm filming this. So yeah, thank you, and I hope you guys had a good weekend too. And on that note, thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful time. And if you did and you want to see more episodes like this, make sure you like and subscribe. And the comment of the day today goes to Banana Shake. I personally think that entitled parents are worse than choosing beggars. They think that treating their child the way they do is okay and totally just, while choosing beggars affects someone for a day or so usually. Yeah, that's so true. Like, choosing beggars can be frustrating and they definitely would annoy a lot of people, but they're still definitely better than entitled parents. They're both bad, but I enjoy reading about them. Okay, I'm out of here. Thank you for all your support, guys. It means so much to me. Got another adventure planned for tomorrow and I hope to see you then. As always, make sure you look after yourself. Make sure you cook yourself a nice meal sometime and have a beautiful, amazing rest of your day. And you know what I'm about to say because I say it every single day. Bye!